I believe that it is past time for us to add the P to our Congo line of kink. The reason we must add the P, standing in for pedophile, is that we have already, in principle, added the P. This already happened with virtually no one noticing when it happened exactly. There is a difference between crossing the Mississippi in Minneapolis compared to Memphis, but you are crossing the same river in both instances. I like that. Pedophilia has already been accepted by our culture. The only thing that remains for us to discover that this is so, and for lots of clueless evangelical cultural observers to smack their foreheads 5 years after the fact. Who knew? Why weren't we told? Why weren't we warned? My argument is an a fortiori one. A how much more argument. If it is now legal for a minor to begin the process of transitioning, with that process including the use of hormone blockers to prevent the onset of puberty, and to go under the knife, which is a monumental and irreversible decision, shouldn't they be allowed to experience sexual activity of whatever kind they want? If a child is competent to decide to allow a 35-year-old surgeon to cut off her breasts, then why is she not competent to allow a 35-year-old surgeon to fondle them? Which is the bigger decision? Which has the greater long-term consequences? We can rest assured that there are, in fact, 35-year-olds who do want to fondle them, because there always are, and we can be equally assured that there are 35-year-old surgeons, because money talks, who will want to cut them off. Not only is this kind of iniquity legal and approved, but it is also hate to be critical of it. The reason disagreement is deemed hatred is because this kind of hatred of God loves to project, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. That is a classical example of projection. Progressivism is progressing, all right, in tighter and tighter clockwise circles, approaching the sucking nadir of our drain to the sewers, which our demented salons and poobahs want to call the apex of our enlightenment. Now, admittedly, our laws are in a state of flux, and it might be a few years before everything is sorted out. Right now, in many states, if you fondle them, it is off to the big house for you, while if you simply cut them off, your chances of a TED Talk gig and a book deal are pretty good. Think about that. So there are what he calls angularities. We should allow ourselves some leeway for such inconsistencies to get ironed out. But given the current state of our culture, which way that inconsistency is going to be reconciled is kind of obvious. And he is exactly right. There are inconsistencies right now. But what you're seeing from the left is the push to get rid of those inconsistencies and to put into the form of the entirety of the law this kind of abject human anarchy and autonomy, because that's what the two things are. There's more. I wanted to go to something else as well, but I just recommend the article simply because it points out in a very clear fashion the reality that, well, everyone saw the link. I imagine everyone saw the link to the TED Talk, and I think it was a TED Talk, presenting the idea that pedophilia is an immutable human sexual orientation, just like homosexuality or bisexuality or transgenderism or anything else. And once you go there, and how could you not go there? How can a Bergefell not go there? Once you go there, there's no going back without a fundamental moral and ethical revolution to say, you know what, we took the wrong turn a long time ago. We need to go back. We need to change all this. And I don't see any evidence yet that that's going to happen. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, as far as I can tell from church history and from the history of the world, the only time that a nation or a culture makes that kind of radical change is when some kind of major disaster befalls that society or that culture that causes them to rethink and to recognize the existence of God and his right to rule over his creation. I don't see how a Western society that is blessed with material blessing can escape the malaise and apathy of prosperity so as to make that kind of radical change. And that means that's why judgment comes. That's why I think we will see judgment upon Western culture, is because we continue down this road with our elites firmly in control of the steering wheel, even if there are a few bumps and a few hesitations along the way. That's where they want to go, and that's what they